looking at the trailer, it looks like it's all.
At this time, we'll call the regular meeting in the New Ulm City Council for February 2nd, 2015, 5 p.m. to order. First item on the agenda is your consent agenda items. What's your wishes?
I'll offer the motion.
I'll second.
We got a motion, a second, to approve the consent agenda items. Any discussion on any? Seeing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Item 2, conduct a public hearing to consider a resolution authorizing the submittal of an application to the Minnesota Department of Employment and Economic Development for the financial assistance from the Minnesota Investment Fund to assist the Kraft Heinz Food Company with facility improvements. Public hearing on this. Anybody like to be heard? Dave?
Council President Schmitz, members of the City Council. The purpose of today's public hearing is twofold. One is to receive testimony from the public regarding the application for the MIF grant. And the second is to receive comments from the public regarding the project itself. Now, the city is the applicant for the MIF grant. The amount of grant that is being requested is $450,000, and that will be used to purchase a piece of production equipment. The equipment would be a spiral cooler, and the cost of the spiral cooler is $1.1 million. And they are purchasing 4 of those. The total cost of the project is $100 million. And it's for the purpose of increasing manufacturing capacity at the plant. Most of the work would take place inside of the existing building. The MIF funding would be provided to Kraft as a forgivable loan. There would be an interest rate of 3%. If Kraft meets their job goal, and their job goal is 50 new positions. Wage goals, if you looked at the information in the application, I'll just cite the lowest paying position was $17.20 per hour with fringe benefits of $8.31. And if they meet their capital expenditure goal, within 2 years of what is referred to as the benefit date, then the loan is forgiven. Kraft will also, as part of this project, retain 90 positions. The benefit date is defined as the day upon which all of the equipment that is purchased as part of the project goes into operation. If Kraft fails to achieve its goals, it is required to repay a portion of the MIF funding. And more specifically, if they do not accomplish their goal of hiring 50 people and only hire 48, they would receive credit for those 48 positions and would have to repay back to the state of Minnesota for those 2 positions that weren't created. Kraft currently has 376 full-time equivalent positions. As part of the application process, the staff, with the assistance of the city attorney's office and with the assistance of our financial consultant, has conducted a business credit check and done a financial analysis, and the company is in a position to be able to pay for the project cost. Kraft will finance this project internally. One item that the city is required to do, and that is to provide a local contribution. And it is a policy of the state of Minnesota that when they provide financial assistance for a project, that they want the local community to also participate in some fashion. in our particular case, when you look at the balances that we have in our revolving loan funds, and this is information that the state has asked us to provide to them, we have sufficient resources to be able to participate. They have indicated to us that the standard that they would use is 25% of the MIF funding amount. So 25% of $450,000 is around $113,000. And so that is the amount that, that we would need to identify. At the present time, we are looking at different options for providing that assistance. It could be in the form of a loan. It could be in the form of a grant. It could be in a form of a forgivable loan, that if Kraft meets all of their goals after 2 years, that we would forgive the loan. We could do a combination of a loan and a grant. We also have a parcel of property that abuts the south side of the Kraft plant that since I started employment with the city, we have been holding in reserve for the company. Maybe now would be an appropriate time to make that transfer, and we could receive credit for that as part of that contribution.
Thank you. Anybody else have any questions for?
I think, for the benefit of the public and the city council, you know, the city and Kraft will be entering into the normal set of documents as you typically see in any development. And so this is just the kind of the start of the process. So as we define more what we're providing, all that will be identified in ultimately in the you know, like the development agreements and all the other things that you've seen before for other projects. And so this is just kind of the start of it, and we'll be probably addressing this numerous times before it's concluded.
And Mr. President, I note that we have used this particular program, this MIF program, to help AMPI and to help Beacon Promotions and Palm Beach Marine Craft. Is that right?
Any more questions? Anybody else like to be heard? Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll offer a motion to close the public hearing.
We got a motion and a second, or no second, right?
This should be by resolution.
Oh, yes, I know.
Okay.
We'll get that. Do you have a second?
I'll second the motion.
We got a motion and a second, close public hearing, offer the resolution, waive the reading, authorizing the application of the deed. Any more discussion? Seeing none?
I guess I just have
Oh,
a
go
comment.
ahead.
I just think that this is something that we need to do for our community, and I've had comments from people that they would like us to, you know, support Kraft in their endeavor in expanding. So.
Thank you. Any more? Seeing none, Assistant Finance Director, please call the roll.
Counselor Fisher.
Yes.
Counselor Mack.
Yes.
Counselor Schultz. Oh, he's not here. Counselor Webster.
Yes.
President
Sorry.
Schmitz.
Yes, motion carries. Item 3A, consider a motion approving the issuance of a lawful gambling permit for the New Ulm Girls Fast Fish Softball Association to conduct a raffle gambling.
I'll offer the motion to approving.
I'll second.
Got a motion and a second, and that's for Saturday, June 18, 2016. Any more discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, no. Motion carries. Item 4A, from the city manager regarding the results of the 2015 Special Archery Hunt Deer Control Program, right?
Mr. President, City Councilors, we had probably an average year for the city deer hunt. As you note, the statistics reflect that we probably saw fewer deer sighted with more hours spent hunting. And we harvested through the program 50 deer, which is less than the last 4 years. So what is it, why would that have happened? We had a really nice fall. Maybe that didn't drive the deer into the woods. It kept them out into the fields and the fence lines and whatnot. But other, it is what it is. But I've got a request into the DNR to do the helicopter deer herd count this spring. They haven't done one since 2011, and they were doing them, every other year. So I think they've missed 4 years now. So we'll see if we can get one done this year to see if the actual count of the deer is down also. But there could be lots of reasons why deer sightings were down, but there were, I believe it was 4 bucks harvested this year, and there are years where we haven't had any bucks harvested. So it's every year is different. We did do a survey of those that took the hunt test to qualify, and we're taking from those survey results some things we could probably do better. And then we'll also be surveying here after maybe in another couple of weeks the actual hunters to see if they're what they could identify with their experience, if they ran into anything. We did not run into any negatives in the program per se. We had some deer baiting a couple of years ago. Somebody put out some corn. We didn't have any of that. So generally, aside from moving a few people around to other locations to try and get them in front of the herd, so to speak, there really wasn't anything identifying that this is any different or special or an off year. So I would recommend that we continue to do this for the next year, and the number of hunters and maybe the number of deer taken will be dependent upon the survey. If we have high numbers, this will continue. If it's lower, they may request that we drop from our 56 hunters this year, to maybe 45, who knows. So we'll make adjustments as the time goes by.
Thank you.
I move we accept the report and reauthorize the 2016 Special Archery Hunt Program.
I'll second.
We got a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, no. Motion carries. Item 4B, consider a motion approving with the conditions the preliminary plot for Valley Heights 6th Edition located at 1520 Westwoods Road.
I'd just like to add, the Planning Commission, we unanimously recommended approval of the plot. This is just the first phase of this, but to turn it into 2 plots, and we'll be getting this back again at the Planning Commission end of February after tonight.
I'll move we approve with the conditions the preliminary plat.
Second.
We got a motion and a second to approve it. Any more discussion?
Les should be here to crow about Aldi's coming. He's usually the one that does that.
Well, guess we'll have to do without it tonight.
I know.
Then. Any more discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, no. Motion carries. Item 5A, consider a motion authorizing the payment of a voluntary assessment of $1 per wastewater hookup to the Coalition of Greater Minnesota Cities to challenge the MPCA's water quality standards for rivers and streams. Brian?
Mr. President, City Councilors, this was a focus of the work session that we had with Senator Dames and Representative Torkelson about a week ago. And as those that were present, I think I can try and paraphrase, but they basically stated that whatever pressure you can put on MPCA to make them, force them into considering other options as they go through rulemaking would be beneficial. I think just the concept of stating that there may be a lawsuit got MPCA to come out in rural Minnesota at a few locations and hold meetings. So we obviously have their attention, but like all things, the more pressure you put on them, the better. So what you have before you is, I think, requesting a one-time payment of $2,600, $2,650, and then the other half of that to make up the $5,300 total would be on the agenda for the PUC. Now, an option that I did not put down and probably should have would be is if the city just said, we'll just pay the $5,300 and be done with it. You know, I didn't put that out there. I just split it between the city and the PUC, primarily because MESERB, which the wastewater PUC is a member of, and the coalition, of which the city is a member of, basically they split the cost in half between those two organizations. I thought, well, it kind of makes sense, but we don't have to do it if you don't want to do it that way. But that was the
Well,
underlying principle.
Mr. President, going back to our work session, I think those of us that attended the work session learned a lot about these regulations, about the issues that are facing the city. And the one thing that I came away from is that both of our legislators are aware of the situation and are also working with they're also they have a role in this too, and they are working from a legislative point of view, working from a political point of view, and so it's not just it hasn't just moved into the judicial system. They're also both of them seem to be quite informed about the issues, and I really appreciated the time that they took with us. And I was not really in favor of this when it first came before us, because I didn't feel like we knew what we were voting on or what we were doing. But after visiting with the senator and the representative, I feel that I know what we're voting on, and I'm willing to support it.
I'll make a motion to authorize the one-time payment of $2,650 for the city's share.
I'll second that.
We got a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, no. Motion carries. Item 6A, consider a resolution accepting monetary donations to the New Ulm Police Department to be used for the purpose of the K-9 program.
I'll offer the resolution, waive the reading.
We got a motion and a second, offer resolution, waived reading, and amount is $200 from the Citizens Bank.
Is this for
I'll-
dog food or what?
I'll second that, but I mean, yeah, he spoke a little
Oh,
sooner.
Was this for something in particular, or just a general donation?
President Schmitz and members of the council, to my knowledge, it was just a donation that they generously offered. I don't think it's earmarked for any specific thing other than the K-9 program.
Okay, thank you.
okay, thank you.
Yeah, I think for the benefit of understanding, you know, how much the K-9 unit actually costs, there's a purchase order on my computer right now waiting to be approved for the purchase of the K-9 in the amount of roughly $9,700. That's just the dog itself, and the fund typically goes to pay for food and veterinary services and all the things that go along with it. And also, I think just to bring you up to speed is Jeremy Reed has been our canine handler, the first dog we had. He returned after a year or two for the second, to replace the handler for the second dog. And of course, that's kind of a big burden on one person to have that additional duties. So at the present time, we have just interviewed for the new canine handler. And so that selection will be being made probably in the next 20-some days. At the same time, I think the next canine school is also coming up like within 6 weeks. So this is all kind of coming to head fairly fast. So I'm assuming by accepting the donation, you want to continue on with the canine program and all those things that entail, you know, selecting an individual and buying the dog and all the other things that are going to happen probably in the near future.
Do we have a name?
I think that's either predetermined before we
Okay.
get there. Somebody gets to choose the name.
All right.
I don't know who it is, but usually the name is given to the dog prior to us getting it.
So we won't have a naming contest.
All right.
Okay.
This isn't like the naming of our subdivision streets where we go through our historical
List.
German names and
Right, right,
Yeah.
right,
come
right.
up with one.
Hans.
That would be nice, but not like
Hats.
that.
All right, any more discussion? Seeing none, Assistant Finance Director, please call the roll.
Counselor Fisher,
Yes.
Counselor Mack,
Yes.
Counselor Webster,
Yes.
President Schmitz.
Yes, motion carries. Item 6B, consider resolution accepting donations to the New Ulm Police Department to be used for the purpose of early childhood, family education, safety fairs, bicycle helmet program.
I'll offer the resolution, waive the reading.
I'll second.
We got a motion, a second offer resolution, waive the reading, and it's for $150 from the Sertoma Club. Any more discussion? I guess the mayor's gonna be busy, we got a few.
Mm-hmm.
I think the PD handles this, at least the last one, then I
How'd you get out of it?
checked. Oh, I just
Oh.
waited for them to ask,
Okay.
and they didn't, so.
Any more discussion? Seeing none, Finance Director, Assistant Finance Director, please call the roll.
Counselor Fisher,
Yes.
Counselor Mack,
Yes.
Counselor Webster,
Yes.
President Schmitz.
Yes, motion carries. Item 6C, consider authorizing the preparation of the amendment for the city code for section 2.50 subdivision 11 to allow the New Ulm Public Utilities Commission Gas Department to sell natural gas outside the corporate boundaries of the city of New Ulm. Brian?
Mr. President, City Councilors, the Public Utility Commission received a request to consider this act of recommending to the City Council. They then had the Long-Term Power Committee review the pluses and minuses and came back with a recommendation from that committee to the Public Utility Commission. And then on January 22nd, they then reviewed that recommendation. Whereas the Long-Term Power Committee had recommended that the PUC requested New Ulm City Council consider changing the code to allow for natural gas sales outside the city's corporate boundary. New Ulm PUC met and supported that recommendation, and hence you have it before you tonight. They are not talking about water or sewer sales outside the city of New Ulm corporate boundary, just gas alone. And I think the uniqueness of that is it's one of those commodities that in anywhere else in the state, it's something that crosses boundaries without regard to much of anything. Only city gas, particularly New Ulm, has been restricted to inside the corporate boundary. The underlying principle is probably found in every charter and probably every city code, if not in one, the other, where they don't provide utilities outside their corporate boundary. And that simply is just the leverage to, in essence, gently force in those people that want to put houses out right on the border of a city, get all the services, pay lower township taxes, but receive all the benefits of living in a city. You get a patchwork of this house is in, the next house is out, the next house is in. And so cities have historically used you don't get any water or sewer, or in our case, and gas or electric, unless you come in the city. Now, electric service territory is a boundary that's set by the state of Minnesota PUC, and approximately 12, 13 years ago, we had an agreement with Brown County REA that we readjusted the boundary, to where we were developing out on Long Highway 14 going west. And so that boundary is set, it's approved at the state, it can change, but that is larger than our corporate boundary. So if there was something going on out in in the country and it's beneficial for us to go out and serve electricity, we already have that right, okay? We can do that. So gas, water, and sewer were the only three that didn't fall into that category. So the recommendation is strictly just natural gas. And I'd be willing to answer any questions that you might have regarding the discussion.
I guess my first question, are we going to have to add more staff? Or are we just going to take this as a one-by-one case scenario?
I would anticipate a case-by-case scenario. At the present time, you know, there may be an opportunity to extend our gas service out to serve larger populations than just like one house or one farm place. But the PUC, if this was allowed, the PUC would, through their normal analysis, make a determination that, no, we can't go out there, that the cost is too great for the return on investment. I mean, they still have to go through that. It's not a given, that just because you want it, you're gonna get it. That's not it. It still has to be driven by whether or not the PUC, you know, if they spend $100 and they expect to get $50 back, they probably are not gonna do it. But if they can make it cash flow, then it's an opportunity for the PUC to extend that utility and obtain additional revenue and additional customers. There are some questions, you know, about, you know, the legalities, because, you know, in the city, you know, we've got things that we can do to customers. We can, you know, we have special assessment authority, but we don't have special assessment authority in another county. We don't have special assessment authority, you know, in the township, even in Brown County. So there are some things that we have to, legal, city attorney's gonna have to be involved, and there's some things that need to be worked through, but I don't think they're not issues that would stop this, because this happens all over the place. We would just be treated in most cases like a regular utility. Xcel Energy or Mini-Gasco, the old Mini-Gasco, they went all over the place. If they didn't have a customer that didn't pay, they had recourse. There was things that they could do. So those are things that, you know, city attorney will have to look at as he processes through any potential amendment, if so desired by the city council.
And Mr. President,
Yes.
if I can add to that, I think those are all details that we can work out. Those were discussed at the long-term planning session. I think the Public Utilities Commission had some of them had some concerns about those. But those are details we can work out. I think probably the motivating factor behind having this on your agenda is that there are some really substantial issues that are possibly pending right now, coming up in the near future, regarding future gas distribution. The PUC currently has contracts for gas capacity with other cities, which we're allowed to do because they're not private customers. There are potentially some substantial private customers that we could sell capacity to, which would be financially very beneficial to the city. We can't do that with the current restriction in the code. And I don't think, I understand the question and the way that the city manager presented it is the reason this is in our code, like all other cities, is to try and deal with orderly annexation. This certainly could be a situation in which individual customers are brought on board, but I think the people who are interested in doing this are looking at probably some substantial larger contracts that would really be a payoff for the city. These individuals or farms, homes might be brought in, but that's not what's really driving this.
They'd be a customer of opportunity.
Right.
If the pipeline is going past,
Yeah.
they could tap in, but we're
Sure.
not doing it for them.
Right.
We're
And
doing
that
it
was
for
my
the-
question. Can you just briefly describe the type of infrastructure that's needed in order to extend gas? Is it just as simple as a little plastic tube, or are there, can you explain that a little bit more
No.
for me?
I think we
Okay.
have somebody sitting to the left of me that has extensive knowledge in gas service, and he would be probably the expert at this table here on what it takes to, you know, put in a pipe.
No.
Well, basically, right now with the technology and stuff like that, it's just a matter of running a plastic pipe. Some of them can be directly plowed into the ground, some are trenched into the ground. And then after that, you just make a tap on and go off to a residential or commercial or whatever type of customer you want. So it's not a big process. Just depends on where you want to go. What Brian made a little bit of a comment to, there is some places where there is a customer right here and there where there is a gas line right in front, but it's just right outside the city. You can't serve them. So some of those things maybe would take place. But
Okay.
as Roger said, there's probably some bigger issues and bigger customers that we're really seriously looking at.
Okay, thank you.
Is there a limit as far how far we might reach out? I mean, it could be 5 miles out or.
No, as much as the electric service territory is regulated, the gas is unregulated
Okay.
as far as where you can go. If you know, and I think I noted it here that there's, you know, out of 852 cities in Minnesota, 125 have electric utilities, and 31 operate natural gas utilities. And of those that have electric and gas, there might only be 20 of those communities. I mean, we are really a small group of the 850 cities in Minnesota. You know, those that have water, sewer, gas, and electric are a minority. You know, so this is something that most cities don't even think about. You know, it's not something that, you know, everybody's grappled with. They don't, because what do we got? 820 cities in Minnesota don't have gas. This is a non-issue for them.
As Brian made a comment, of the 31 municipals that do have natural gas, back in, I'll even go back to in the late 1990s, New Ulm was the only one that did not serve outside the corporate city limits. So I don't know if anything's changed since I retired, but I would assume not. So I mean, this is something that was talked about for a long time, and now it's here for other reasons. So
I think this is one of those opportunity issues. You know, if somebody else were to come in, they'll lock up that, because we're not going to go in if somebody else puts a pipe in. It makes no sense. Now it's really not financially feasible to do that. So, to be truthful, he who gets there first is going to lock up that service territory.
Sure.
You could probably akin this a little bit to the cable TV industry. You know, you see, you know, small communities out there in rural Minnesota. They don't have 3 cable providers with 3 sets of infrastructure. The first person first firm that gets there, everybody else just goes, "Oh, hey, you got there first. I'm not going to put all that money in infrastructure with hope of getting, you know, a third of the customers." So that's kind of what's happening here too. Is if we don't get out, somebody else can get in, and then we are stuck. Then we don't have an opportunity to ever get those customers.
Well, I'll move that we authorize the city attorney to prepare an amendment to the code to allow the gas department to sell natural gas outside the boundaries of the city.
Second.
we got a motion and a second. Any more discussion?
And when can we expect to have this back? Month, 2?
Oh, yes, yeah.
okay.
I think we'd try to get it to you as soon as possible. I think we'd like to act on this as soon as we could.
Okay. No more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Item 6D, consider motion to set a date for a public hearing on the 2016 Utility Street and Alley Improvements Group 1 project for Tuesday, March 15, 2016 at 5 p.m.
So moved.
Second.
We got a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Seeing none? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, no. Motion carries. Item 7A, consider acceptance of a list of claims paid and approve the list of claims to be paid. Claims paid amount to $2,470,794.46, and to be paid amount to $225,188.15.
I'll offer the motion.
Second.
We got a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Seeing none? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, no. Motion carries.
Okay.
With no more business, meeting adjourned.